This is Otto Warmbier. A 21-year-old college student took a trip that should have been just another adventure, a story to tell his friends when he got back home. But instead, it turned into one of the most disturbing international incidents in modern history. And what really happened to him? That is where the story gets complicated, because the version most people believe might not be the truth. This is the story of Otto Warmbier, and how a single moment spiraled into a global mystery that still has no clear answer. Otto Warmbier wasn't reckless. He wasn't careless. In fact, he was the kind of person people trusted. He grew up just outside Cincinnati, Ohio. Smart, athletic, popular, the kind of student who seemed to have his entire life mapped out ahead of him. He was studying finance, had big ambitions, and like many people his age, he wanted to see the world. So when the opportunity came up to travel abroad, he took it. At the end of 2015, Otto joined a New Year's tour to one of the most isolated countries on Earth, North Korea. Now, think about that for a second. A place where the rules aren't just strict, they're absolute. A place where a simple mistake isn't just a mistake. It can become a crime. Still, the tour promised something different: adventure, curiosity, a rare glimpse into a closed-off world. And for about $1,200, Otto and a group of tourists from around the world signed up. It was supposed to last just 5 days. 5 days, that's all. And for most of the trip, everything seemed normal. They celebrated New Year's Eve in Pyongyang, surrounded by fireworks, music, and carefully orchestrated displays of national pride. They toured monuments, visited historical sites, and were constantly guided through a version of reality curated by the regime. Everything they saw was controlled. Everything they experienced was intentional. Because in North Korea, even what looks ordinary is part of something much bigger. Then came the night that changed everything. After celebrating the New Year, the group returned to their hotel, a massive tower, sitting alone on an island, a place some tourists jokingly called the Alcatraz of fun. That night, people split up. Some went to the bar, others wandered around. Eventually, everyone went back to their rooms, and by all accounts, Otto went to bed. Nothing seemed unusual, nothing seemed wrong, until it was time to leave. At the airport, everything was routine. Passports checked, bags ready, people thinking about home. And then, Otto felt a tap on his shoulder. 2 North Korean officials. No explanation, no warning, just a quiet command to come with them. And just like that, he was gone. At first, people didn't panic. They thought it might be a misunderstanding, a delay, something minor. But days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And then, the world finally saw him again. 2.5 months later, Otto appeared in front of cameras. But this wasn't the same person. Standing there, visibly shaken, reading from a statement, he confessed to committing a severe crime. He said he had tried to steal a propaganda poster from his hotel. A poster, that was it. According to North Korea, this wasn't just theft. It was an act of subversion, a crime against the state. And Otto begged for forgiveness. He spoke about being manipulated, about pressure, about making the worst mistake of his life. He cried, he pleaded, he looked broken. But here's the thing, almost everything about that confession didn't make sense. The story he told was bizarre. He claimed a church had encouraged him, that a secret society promised him rewards, that even the US government was somehow involved. It sounded scripted, and experts around the world quickly came to the same conclusion. The confession was likely forced, because North Korea had done this before. Public confessions, carefully crafted narratives, propaganda disguised as justice. And Otto had become part of that system. The trial itself lasted just 1 hour. 1 hour. No real defense, no transparency, no fair process. And the verdict? 15 years of hard labor for allegedly taking a poster. Let that sink in. 15 years for something that, in most countries, wouldn't even result in jail time. After that, Otto disappeared. Again, no updates, no contact, no clear information about where he was or what was happening to him. His family waited. The US government tried to negotiate, but North Korea stayed silent for over a year. 17 months of nothing. Then, suddenly, everything changed. In June 2017, the news broke. Otto was being released. But there was a catch. He wasn't coming home the way anyone expected. When his parents finally saw him again, they didn't recognize their son. He was unconscious, unresponsive, unable to speak, unable to see, unable to hear. He had suffered severe brain damage. Doctors described his condition as unresponsive wakefulness, what many people would call a vegetative state, and no one knew how it happened. North Korea gave an explanation. They claimed Otto had developed a rare case of food poisoning, botulism. Then they said he was given a sleeping pill. And somehow that combination left him in this condition. But medical experts in the United States quickly rejected that story. There was no evidence of botulism, none. Instead, scans revealed something else. Severe brain damage caused by a lack of oxygen, meaning at some point, Otto's brain had been deprived of oxygen long enough to cause irreversible injury. But how? That's the question. Because there are many possibilities, and none of them have been proven. Some believed he was tortured. His parents were convinced of it. They described injuries, scars, signs that something terrible had been done to him. Others weren't so sure. Medical reports didn't show clear evidence of physical abuse severe enough to explain the brain damage. And the type of injury he had suggested something sudden, not prolonged, something like cardiac arrest or respiratory failure, something that caused him to stop breathing, even briefly, but long enough to change everything. There were other theories too. Maybe it was a reaction to medication. Maybe it was an accident or something darker. Some investigators even suggested that Otto, under extreme psychological pressure, may have attempted to take his own life. After weeks of isolation, interrogation, fear, hopelessness, it's a possibility. But like everything else in this case, it can't be confirmed. 6 days after returning home, Otto Warmbier died. His death shocked the world. It intensified tensions between the United States and North Korea. Politicians called it murder. Others called it a tragedy surrounded by uncertainty. And that's really what this story is, uncertainty. Because despite everything we know, we still don't know the most important part. What actually happened to Otto Warmbier? Was he tortured? Was it negligence? Was it an accident? Or something else entirely? The truth is locked away in a place where information is controlled and reality is shaped by power. But one thing is undeniable. Otto wasn't just a tourist. He became a symbol used by governments, by media, by politics, a human life caught in the middle of something much bigger than himself. And maybe that's the most unsettling part of all, because it makes you wonder, how many stories like this exist, where the truth is never fully known? If you found this story thought-provoking, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories like this, stories that challenge what we think we know. And if you want to go deeper into mysteries that still don't have clear answers, check out the next video on your screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.